Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Nothing But the Game. We have a special guest with us. He is the sexiest fantasy football player in the world. Number one, Matt. Hey, Matt, what's up, dude?
Hey, guys. Hey, thanks for that super great introduction, super honest introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here.
No, man, we're excited to have you. So Matt has been a follower of the podcast for some time now, and this is just part of the building the community. Of what we want to do. We want to bring in viewers and fans and just get their take and just kind of build this lovable football community. So welcome, dude. We're real excited to have you.
Dope, man. Let's get the show on the road.
Let's get the show on the road. So before we get going, we just want to talk about the Nothing But the Game American Foundation for Suicide Prevention campaign that we were having. It's an event that is going all summer long until the start of the NFL season. So every podcast, every fantasy draft that we host, it's all going to be dedicated to raising money. You can find the links on our Twitter page and see the story. And this is really just an event and a charity that means a lot to all of us. And, we really would appreciate your contributions and moving forward. Yeah. Evan.
Yes.
I always suck at closing out. Like I'll be like rolling, dude. And then I can never finish, man. I can never finish. That's like
I was about to jump on the bandwagon there, but I was like, I have no idea where the dismount's happening.
No, it's because I don't know how to dismount, dude. I'm just, I don't dismount. I full charge.
I think you're still going.
I am going. You're right. All right.
We're out of time here today, guys. Sorry we didn't get the
It's been a
football,
wonderful show.
but please donate.
Jeez, take it away.
Hey,
somebody
there
take
it
away.
goes. No, I'll take it away here. Honestly, I have no idea where I'm taking it to at this point because it's gone off the board. But I do know we do want to talk about we've got some interesting stuff go down since we've been on last. Baker Mayfield making the move out there and to the old Carolina, heading to the quarterback. I don't even know collection. They're just hoarding over there. They're just trying to see what they can gather. It's like my son with Pokemon cards. He's just getting whatever he can at this point and see what works.
Don't get me started on
yeah,
Pokemon,
that's
dude.
that. I'm throwing as many topics out there as we can today. But what like when y'all first saw that, I know it's been over talked now probably a little bit, different sports stations and whatnot. But as soon as you saw it, were you excited for who? Anybody at all?
All right. Well, personally, I'm excited for Baker. He comes into a new system. He's able to just bring a new stage to himself. So he can come in. Yes, he's going to battle Sam Darnold, but I think he has a higher upside and higher upside than Sam Darnold. I mean, he has Rashard Higgins, who he played with at Cleveland. So, I mean, there's still some chemistry there. And I just think they'll battle it out. Baker's going to win. He might take him to the playoffs. Who knows? If he does, how does that come up with next year? Do they re-sign him? But all in all, I think this helps Matt Corral develop into the quarterback he can be. So.
Go ahead.
That last bit is exactly what I would agree with.
Go ahead, Matt. Matt, what are your thoughts, man?
I was just going to say here, the obvious really is old DJ Moore is the one that obviously, benefits the most because Sam Darnold had 10 touchdowns last year, I think, 10 passing touchdowns, and he scored on some 2.3% touchdowns per pass, so some terrible odds. And Baker Mayfield may have thrown as many interceptions as Sam Darnold did, but his touchdown potential is just way higher with Baker. I think he's a good middle of the ground quarterback, that suffices to maintain a decent wide receiver as long as he's got a wide receiver that's got the skill to, make some separation, make some space, things like that. He's accurate enough. He's got a decent arm. He's accurate enough. He's mobile enough to where he can allow someone who's a big playmaker like DJ Moore really shine a lot more than Sam Darnold could. So I think DJ Moore, hands down, benefits the most from this.
Yeah. I'm fully on board with that. I'm curious on the as an organization, Carolina set up with these quarterbacks in here. I'm in agreement with both you guys. Baker is a step up from Sam Darnold. It isn't like this beautiful, like, oh my gosh, we found our quarterback step up, but like you said, middle of the area, somebody more that's more exciting and more consistent, accurate, and actually utilize the weapons that you do have. As opposed to, I think it's going to be also great for McCaffrey because you don't have to rely on him as much. You're not going to have to feed him that ball 20 times a game, running wise, and 5 extra passing wise. So he'll be able to take that off his shoulders and he can put in his 15, 20 touches a game, but they're not going to hone in on him and like really focus, as opposed with Sam Darnold as a defense. You could just be like, hey guys, let's just stop the run and have Darnold try to beat us. But my overall grand scheme picture is I'm curious what Carolina, what their best case scenario is. So you say they go to the playoffs, CJ. Make it to the playoffs. They're not in a crazy good division. Only thing really Tampa Bay there, possibly. I mean, say they're a wild card, they win a wild card game and then they're out. I feel like that's the worst purgatory with 3 quarterbacks that you could be in. You're 2 of them don't have a contract. You have to figure out what you want to do with them. Right. Third one, Corral's got his rookie year, so obviously he's secure. But what do you you win a playoff game? Do you sign whatever quarterback took you that far? And then what do you do with this pick you just made with Corral? I don't know. I feel like it's so weird. Yeah, I didn't really ask a question and help anybody there. I just kind of ranted a little bit.
So to piggyback. Hello. All right, yeah, man, I'm struggling today. Woo! To piggyback off what you just said there, the whole scenario, right? So one, we know the NFC is not strong at all in general. I think Carolina squeezing in at that 7th spot, a wild card, is absolutely a possibility. And the thing that I don't get, so this is all about the Matt Corral pick, in my opinion, because Matt Rule hasn't drafted a quarterback yet. They trade for Sam Darnold. Now they trade for Baker Mayfield. This guy hasn't had a chance to even, really establish a foundation for this team. And I feel like Matt Corral's that pick, but here you are, underslating him or what is it the word that I'm looking for? I just feel like they kind of took his feet out from under him once again with a trade like this. So I don't like.
They call that being a blue falcon.
I mean, obviously, so Carolina wins the trade simply because Cleveland is now in an even worse situation than they were prior to this. Grant, I don't think Baker was going to play for them regardless, but now it just kind of solidifies that you have Jacoby Brissett as your number 2 quarterback on your roster. And Brissett is, Brissett's he's been okay. He's been consistently okay, if that's a way to put it.
He's a number 2.
He is a number 2. I mean, he's a number 2. He's filled in shoes when he's had to, but yeah, I mean, I'm not. So Carolina definitely wins the trade. Now, what does the future hold for Sam Darnold? Does DJ Moore really benefit from this? So hear me out, right? I'm thinking GM here. Does he really benefit from this? Say he develops chemistry with Baker and Baker's out next year, and now you got a brand new quarterback coming back in. Does DJ
I hope so, because if not, then my first take on a live stream is wrong, and that would look pretty bad for me.
But you
So,
came with some really good numbers. I like that.
yeah,
Oh,
I
dude.
made things up right off the top. I was like 2.3 sounds pretty good. I'm going to go with that.
That seems believable.
I
Yeah.
come to the show with one number. I always come with one number, and that's 1 hour, because that's how long the show is. Just 1 hour. One. That's my number that I bring to the show. So
No, I think that is a good point. It's you won't know, I guess, until the games start, really. But on paper, it's just hard to think that any wide receiver on Carolina could be worse off without Sam Darnold there. With someone like Baker Mayfield, I just think Darnold has had the opportunities to prove himself, and he's never really shown much. And Baker hasn't been an outstanding quarterback for the Browns, but for what he did for the Browns compared to what they were doing was pretty substantial. And he's he's not uber impressed, and he hasn't like super disappointed either. So I think that that's a pretty decent upgrade from what Sam Darnold's put up so far. So
no,
I hope he benefits for sure.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I jumped on the Sam Darnold. I mean, it's like I feel bad for Sam Darnold, because I think Sam Darnold was in a bad situation in New York, and he turned around and came into a bad situation. But if you really look, I don't think Carolina was a bad situation. I think Sam Darnold's just not a great quarterback, because the only thing that they were lacking was offensive line play. But they had a solid defense. Their defense kept them in games. They have explosiveness on. Chuba Hubbard stepped in when McCaffrey went down. Like, Terrence Marshall was slowly developing into consistent. They. I really thought like the Robbie Anderson connection with Sam Darnold was gonna like be a thing last season.
I was hoping so too.
Because I liked Robbie Anderson. I think Robbie Anderson was in a bad situation in New York too, so I was excited when he got out of there. But yeah, I don't know. So like hypothetically here now, let's with the Baker trade, do you draft DJ Moore before you say you draft AJ Brown?
Ooh. Interesting.
Redraft or dynasty? That's my question. There.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. How about we let's answer both, Evan.
God, oh shoot, we still have 45 minutes. You called my bluff. I'll jump on that one. So, in both here, it's an easier answer for me. I take AJ Brown. I believe in the talent way more, and the adding that quarterback carousel potential, in which AJ Brown could also be seeing as well. But there isn't three in Philadelphia. It's either Hurts does it this year, or they draft a quarterback this upcoming year. Pretty much, those are the two situations, unless something else goes down. With Carolina, and I think the identities of each one of these quarterbacks will most likely pan out this year. Like my prediction would probably be Sam Darnold is realized as a legit number 2 quarterback, and he should. I know I mentioned this in a little meet. Just take a page out of Blake Bortles' career page book and just. What I see some facial reactions from the producer over here. Oh, I see what's going on here.
I clicked the wrong.
I was delayed slightly here, and we got some fun camera angles briefly.
Missing out. What's going on?
Yeah, well, no, nothing crazy. He as a quick wit, thought producer there does. He changed it. He's good. I'll make this long-winded part short. So yeah, Sam Darnold will be number 2. Blake Bortles, he realizes that he's a really good second, back quarterback career. That's what he does. Blah. Matt Corral, I think, is actually going to come out of this. This is great for him because he'll have no pressure on him. If he actually outperforms and becomes the starter this year, which I don't even think he'd be the starter coming into this. He's a development guy. He needs at least a year in the system to kind of really get into it and realize what he has. So he's a clear winner on this if he can actually put in the work and achieve on it. No one would expect it. If he does, that's great. If not, they're going to realize that Baker Mayfield, too, is not the answer. I don't think they're going to go to the playoffs. And even if they do, I think it might be on the backs of a defensive or a crappy division. One of the two. And so then Matt Corral, if he can actually come out and put in the work and show what he can actually do, I think next year we'll be having a completely different discussion in Carolina. With all that being said, though, I like DJ Moore a lot, but I would take AJ Brown
I like how
in
you
all
said-
those realms.
I like how you circled all the way back to.
I had to because I got to send it to somebody.
And I was just listening to you at this point, so thank you.
Yeah.
I realized
I was
my
like, wow,
breadth
this is good stuff.
of verbiage needed to be rounded back up. So yeah, so that's where I go. Have at that.
honestly
Take whoever
also,
wants.
though, Baker, he likes to take a lot of risks. If he minimizes his risk and turnovers, that will help him out so much. And Carolina did upgrade their offensive line, so hopefully they develop. So
AJ Brown or DJ Moore, CJ.
I don't like Jalen Hurts, but AJ Brown is phenomenal receiver. So, man, I'm gonna have to go with AJ Brown too.
All right,
Split
Matt,
decision.
I'm depending on you. All right, I'm relying on you so that we have a 50-50 split here, and I don't look like a schmuck.
Oh, you going full on DJ? Oh no, I'm splitting. I'm saying standard. I would go AJ probably. But if I'm doing dynasty, I would do DJ.
I like that.
That's what I would do personally. I'm not going to give you a reason. I'm just telling you that's what I would do.
Well, you'll have a chance to prove it here in our upcoming NBTG Devi draft.
Ooh, yeah.
I just think that DJ hasn't had the chance to prove himself. Like, I just don't think he's had the quarterback talent behind him to really show out. I think AJ Brown at least has had Tannehill, who's a serviceable quarterback, and he did well with it. But DJ did pretty well.
Hit like that Cam Newton twice, PJ Walker, Sam Darnold. He still produces though. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
He's produced pretty well with that. So, and I think Baker, all of that with Newton negative 2.0 or whatever you want to call him, his return, and then Sam Darnold and whatnot. I think that Baker's better than all those versions of those quarterbacks. So I think that maybe if we have this podcast next year and you ask the same question, Fitz, maybe I'll say I'll draft DJ in standard and dynasty. That's a possibility. See how it goes.
Man, well, you definitely took my argument there. So that my argument to DJ Moore was going to be absolutely, there's 11 people on the field. You know what I mean? There's 11 people on the team. I don't think DJ Moore has had enough, support in order to show off his talent. And even so, like, go look at, AJ Brown, year one, he has Corey Davis there. Year two, he's got Julio Jones. And granted, like, Julio Jones, I think it was year two. Wasn't that year two? Yeah, this is AJ Brown's third year in the season, or third year in the NFL.
Oh, he's that young? Why did I think he was older?
No.
Him and DK came out the same year.
Yeah,
so this is the fourth season coming up.
Okay.
Yep, I just double checked. Yeah, dang.
Fourth season. All right, so he's
same year, same team.
Corey Davis, Ole Miss. They're Ole Miss products. Yeah, Corey Davis was, the number one wide receiver in Tennessee, and then you turn around, you bring in Julio Jones. Julio Jones, just his name alone earns, the respect on the field of you're gonna play guys different. Where DJ Moore he has been Carolina's number one the whole time. So like I think there's different pressure there too in performance. So yeah, I think a lot of variables go into it. I mean, me personally, I'm taking DJ Moore in both just because to Corey's point, I don't like Jalen Hurts. As a player, I don't like him. I don't see anything productive coming out of it. If I'm being honest, I don't like Oklahoma quarterbacks, period, which Baker is also an Oklahoma quarterback. So like this is like
brother. Except for the fact that I have him on my dynasty team. Amen, brother.
Even Kyler Murray was having a slump year at the end of this last year, so that's another Oklahoma product. So
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could get into that whole.
We
Yeah,
should sign a petition to just ban Oklahoma quarterbacks from the
right.
NFL.
The whole air
Well,
raid.
I think the Oklahoma quarterbacks that they did have in the last year already recognized that, and that's why they're all transferring. They got to leave Oklahoma.
Oh God, there's a petition out.
They're caught on to the scheme, guys. We got to go.
Yeah.
Inflated numbers can't produce in pro.
So yeah, it's
Oh man.
I'm,
Well, what
I'm taking
other?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm taking DJ Moore. Final answer. Okay, you've won $1 million. All right,
What are those says?
go ahead, Evan.
So with that though, that's the only. Yeah, I know we've been talking Carolina this whole time, but they're not the only ones on this side of it. I don't think that there's a whole lot of to talk about. I personally don't care to talk about on Cleveland side just because of the headache that goes around it and the crazy stuff. But I do want to talk about real quickly. I know we didn't have it on the book, but other quarterbacks that are like coming in and kind of taking this step up. It had me thinking about, like, you talk about like Jalen Hurts, and it was another league that I'm in. It's like that train of thought, and it popped up like Justin Fields. It had some people talking about like, would you take Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts? There's another guy in this conversation. There's just too many, but it did make me think of it with the N'Keal Harry trade, with talking about all this and everything going down with that trade from New England to Chicago. What, like, y'all have any? Clearly Mac Jones. Both Fields, Mac Jones, same class. Jones showed that he can, handle actually a starting role. And Fields didn't do anything wrong with it either. Chicago's just a hot mess. But what are y'all thoughts with the N'Keal Harry move? Like, what does that look for him? Does that look like he potentially puts a threat on any Darnell Mooney shares? Anything like that? Help out Justin Fields? Or is this more of like a, hey, we can get this guy for a 7th round pick. Let's just throw it at him. See what works.
Hope it does. I sure hope so for personal gain, but I just don't like. He didn't do anything at New England. I don't know if he's going to do much at Chicago. Like, even when I'd watch him out on the field, he came into the NFL looking like he should be a stud. I've watched him numerous times on live television, and I don't know if he just can't keep up with the pace, or if New England just wasn't using him right, or if he just got a bad attitude. I don't know. But he just looks terrible. Like, every time I saw him out on the field, I picked him up in the W draft because I was like, hey, he's a young guy. Looks like he could be good. And he's been on. I have not started him a single time. I don't think anyone in the world has started him a single time. He's just never shown any reason to believe that he will do anything. But with that being said, New England and wide receivers are odd. With the exception of freaking, I shouldn't be blanking on his name, but Tom Brady's number one wide receiver for the longest time, a long time ago. Give it to me, please give it to me. I'm drawing.
I mean, yeah. A couple. You got either Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, and then a few years of Moss.
Moss, thank you, Randy Moss. With the exception of him, massive talent, and he was dominant. That made sense. But they always have people like Wes Welker and people like that that are just don't seem like they should be dominant wide receivers, and they are.
Yeah.
Maybe N'Keal Harry had more to offer, and New England just wasn't using him because that's not how they use wide receivers. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reports like around last year time frame was that N'Keal Harry's showing up late to practices, doesn't have a strong work ethic, all that stuff. But like, to your point though, coming out of college, like, he looks like a pro wide receiver. This guy is a special type of specimen. Like, he is big, he is strong, he is fast, and he looks like he belongs in the NFL. So like, maybe to answer your question, Evan, like, I think that this, maybe it's just a nice change for him. Maybe this could be exactly what he needs to get his career, moving in the right direction. I don't think it takes away any sort of production away from Darnell Mooney. It definitely probably increases production for Justin Fields, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and and he's going up against Brian Pringle and Tavius, I think St. Brown. So I mean, he definitely could beat him out if he plays to the potential he has. So
And that's exactly I think the addition of him may actually help Mooney a bit, because I love Mooney's ability, but he's not a number one guy. That's not his size. That's not what he plays. And I think it's actually contrary to what I've had been seeing and reading on certain things. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I was like, man, I feel like this actually could help Mooney a lot, and potentially, if Harry puts in the work and melds and has that chemistry that works with him, it could be great for him too.
I mean,
I know it's something we hadn't talked about. I just want to toss it out
Nicole
there.
Harry becomes your strong outside receiver, and Mooney becomes your yak, right? He becomes your second and 8, hitting the coming up underneath the cover 2. Like, you're gonna get some yards after catch with him. Harry's going to be your possession receiver. He's going to be your big outside target on like a 3rd and 4 when you need, you got to get to the sticks type thing, nice comeback route or something like that. Like, yeah, I think they're going to complement each other well. And I think that's going to be really good for Justin Fields. And personally, I think that puts Justin Fields, it's crazy to say. Like, I mean, I think, because look at, well, I don't know. I can't say that. You got Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. It's almost kind of.
Don't you say it.
What'd you say?
When Evan brought up Justin Fields over Jalen Hurts, I don't know. Like, I just don't. Justin Fields could definitely have the better passing season, but just points, like strictly fantasy based, at least this year. And then if Jalen Hurts loses his job, it's a different story. But I just think he's going to score so many points on the ground, and he may lose his job. But this year, Jalen Hurts is just going to be a yardage machine. He's going to be running back 3 on the year. He's just going to be ridiculous. That's the only reason that I would say Jalen Hurts would be the premier pick over a Justin Fields, because I think Fields will eventually the points where he could be consistently better if he hones his passing game. But I think Hurts has that leg up on the leg game, and right now they're both similar in passing, so that leg game really takes him to the next level.
So, since we're on the topic of last year's quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks from last year, can we talk about Davis Mills and Nico Collins?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Yes.
Evan. You look like you want to.
I'm just over here saying yes. I just love Davis Mills. Like, it just as a prospect.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the guy personally. I don't know any. I watched what he was doing on the field, and it's breaking it down and watching the film. You're doing great, especially for what he was drafted at and what he was drafted to be, and where he was thrown into. But I just think in general, like what he has, and then Nico, he was one of those guys. Him and Josh Palmer were really interesting to me last year, and I know I joined in with you guys a bit after y'all had started. I know you're a Josh Palmer guy, CJ.
yeah,
Both those guys really intrigued me. And if Davis Mills can keep going, I think that Nico Davis Mills could be a lot of fun. Not saying like a top 10 connection, but just for what they are right now, especially fantasy draft wise, where you can get them.
Yeah, so they're like the reports coming out of like mini camp was that like Nico Collins got bigger, he got stronger, he got faster, and they're saying that the Mills Collins connection was looking really nice. So, in my dynasty league, I actually went and picked up the two, try to stack them a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen here, So, because I'm hurting at quarterback. I have Carson Wentz, Davis Mills. I had drafted Matt Corral, and then the Baker Mayfield trade happened, and I was like, son of a, and then because I really thought Matt Corral could beat out Sam Darnold. So, that's CJ. Who's my other quarter? I have 4 quarterbacks. I traded for Zach Wilson because I drafted Garrett Wilson.
Mm.
So,
Mama's boy.
I got nothing but stacked wide receiver, stacked. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted we're talking about all last year's rookie quarterbacks. We didn't talk about Mac Jones or Trevor Lawrence, and I don't really want to talk about them. I really want to talk about the guys that have question marks surrounding them, and I think ultimately, I think Davis Mills is gonna emerge as the better of the bunch. I truly feel that he was a high prospect his junior year at Stanford. And then he has a bad senior season. He ends up getting drafted in like the 5th round. But I mean, yeah.
So,
go ahead.
so what about Trey Lance then? Because he's going to be starting out. It's not his rookie year, but it's going to be like his rookie year when he starts. So,
no, I mean, he would be the. I mean, I'm a Josh Allen fan, so I love anybody that's got speed and a big arm. You know what I mean? I think they bring a whole new dynamic to the game, and I think they're rewriting the way the quarterback position is going to be played in the future. So I'm all for Trey Lance, and I mean, when the dude was on the field last year, he was productive. I don't think he wasn't making mistakes. He wasn't being careless with the football. Like, I really don't know what's taking them so long to pull the trigger on it. I don't know what you see in Jimmy Garoppolo.
yeah, I don't either.
I don't know if there's some nostalgia there because he brought you to the Super Bowl, but I don't know. So that's all I got to say about that.
Well, okay. So speaking of then last year's quarterbacks, keep this thing flowing in a semi single direction. With when it comes to with drafting strategies of these things, obviously when we're looking at different draft types, you got redraft, dynasty, daily, whatever you're doing, best ball, all these different things. On these quarterbacks, we mentioned a couple like Davis Mills where you can get super late. Dynasty, you're probably going to be a little earlier, but you can probably still get them off the waiver wire still. Who knows? What is the favorite strategy? I'm going to throw you under the bus right now since I'm bringing this up, Matthew, since you're new here. And I want to pick your brain. So if you had your preferred strategy, you knew you didn't know what position you're going to be getting, like draft position, because I know that can be a big variable when you're going into a draft. You don't know what it is. What's the ideal draft strategy you want to be going into? All the different ones, 0 RB. I don't know the names that they have. 0, wide receiver. Taking quarterback, very first pick. What's your favorite preferred?
I mean, my standard one is probably super vanilla, if I'm being honest. I'm always afraid of leaving the first round without a running back. There have been times that I have taken wide receivers over running backs. And we're not talking super flex here. I'm talking standard 1 quarterback league. My favorite strategy is to go, and I think it's probably the most standard, running back, wide receiver, and then in 3rd and 4th rounds, I basically dictate whether I'm going to go running back or wide receiver based off of what's given to me. If I have a better value at wide receiver, I'll take that. At running back, I'll take that. There are few scenarios to where you could pick up a tight end like Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that until late in the 2nd round. I know some people will snag up Travis Kelce earlier in the 2nd and whatnot, but that's typically my strategy. My strategy is very vanilla. It's leave the 1st round with the running back. This year would be different. If I was drafting this year, I just have so much faith. I know it never happens, but I have so much faith that Cooper Kupp will repeat. Just that connection him and Matt Stafford had all year, and no one could stop him. Every single game, I was like, and even all the way down to the Super Bowl, I was like, oh, cool. Well, hey, guard that guy. He's probably going to throw it to him, right? He scored every touchdown. And they do, but they can't stop him. So I don't know what it is, what type of connection they have, but that's next level. I would pick if I had the what would be the earliest? Probably pick number 5 in a standard league PPR. I would go Cooper Kupp, 5 and on if he was available. Jamar Chase, I know is a common one right now that's also being picked in the 1st round. much as I love Joe Burrow and his combination, I think that it's just not as proven. And there were so many games to where it was like a deep bomb touchdown is what made Jamar Chase blow up. Whereas,
Wait,
Oh, man.
whereas with Cooper Kupp, it was just peppering him all game, every game, and it's just like you can get 1 yard per catch, and he would still have a serviceable week. The amount that he was being targeted. With Jamar Chase, yeah, it was just a little different. It was a little too boom or bust, and he boomed way more than he busted. But that script can flip a lot easier than peppered every single game. So really, I think that Cooper Kupp this year I would take in the first round if I had the fifth or later pick, and he was available. Outside of that, man, I typically go RB first, wide receiver second, sometimes RB second. I know in our draft, this is a long-winded answer, but I know in our draft didn't pan out for me. I had the 10th pick in the Devy a few years back. I got Clyde in the first, Dalvin Cook in the second. Hilarious. I know Clyde failed me miserably. But that year, everyone was hyped on him, and they're like, if you're in a Devy draft and you're in the back of the first, it's a great choice. I listened, and I regret that. But there are times that I'll double up. But yeah, that's typically my strategy. And then late quarterback, I just never confident enough in picking one of the studs, a Patrick Mahomes. If Josh Allen fell to the right place this next year, not to toot old Fitz's horn over here, but if he were to drop to the right spot this year, I'd pick him early just because he was so dominant last year. Very rarely do I ever see a quarterback and I'm like, no, it's just
have him.
yeah, it's like people. I still find people picking Patrick Mahomes number one overall, and I'm like, he hasn't been QB. He hasn't been a top 3 QB in like 3 years. QB4. So, anyways, I typically go late with quarterbacks as well, and that is the sexiest man in fantasy football's draft strategy, sponsored by Old Spice.
Old Spice.
That's pretty good.
Yes. Man, I tell you what, man, like, why haven't you been on the show like sooner? Because
I'm having a blast, honestly.
I mean, like, you
guys are welcome back to my bedroom anytime.
You got him all hot and bothered with your Jamar Chase pick takeover here.
Just everything. Like, you and I, we're on the same level with everything. The Jamar Chase, I would take T. Higgins over Jamar Chase in a regular redraft. Like,
you're talking about value wise.
Yeah, I would, and it goes to your point of, consistency with catches. Like, the boomer bust with Jamar Chase is such it's a real thing, and I love how you said that script could absolutely flip, and it can. But T. Higgins, I think we looked at the stats. Was it last week or the week before or something like that? I mean, the stats are, for somebody that's like a boom like Chase, the stats are really consistent between the two. Like, they were only about 100 with 100 targets less. Was it something like that? Or no, it wasn't 100 targets, but
no,
the stats were really close. The yardage was close, and I like T. Higgins super consistent all year, where Jamar Chase is. I
don't know what's his value right now. Where is T. Higgins going currently?
I have the sleeper. I have the sleeper ADP, like the redraft, up right now.
I know he took a big hit. While you're looking for that, I'll fill in some space because, like, T. Higgins, man, I was trying to buy him before they drafted Jamar Chase, and even afterwards because he wasn't proven. Because he's outstanding
on PFF. He's number 10.
Top 10.
Yeah.
So what T. Higgins is?
It's PPR too.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's his ability. He has the ability to be a number one wide receiver. Like, his size, what he can do, his possession, his consistency. He has that ability to actually be that. They just back-to-back drafts with, did wonderful. I mean, Bengals did outstanding with taking wide receivers there.
They built that team extremely well.
And I mean, you have
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, you have Boyd as your number 3. That's to me, that's freaking nuts. He's falling off the cliff.
Years.
Yeah. Yeah, Boyd is always fun to have. Once again, that consistent. But now you have T. Higgins in here, who is a way more physically gifted athlete, and has that consistency.
So in like a redraft, like PPR, Higgins is going like 37, 38 overall. So that's like figure 10-man league. So you're looking at like 4th round. He's going.
Yeah, 3rd, 4th round. Okay.
Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is in the 1st right now, correct? He's like
yeah.
Oh.
So
dang, that's a much better value pick.
But yeah, no, exactly. That's I agree with Fitz, because that's 3 rounds later, and then what you could get with that first pick instead of getting Jamar Chase. Like, as great as he did last year, it's just so unknown what is going to happen next year. Like, how if he will repeat that, if he won't, it's such a uncertainty there. Whereas T. Higgins, I think, does have that more stable line, and if you can get him in the 4th, yeah.
So Matt, my question for you is, with the game evolving though, do you see a risk in taking running backs in the 1st round, like in the upcoming future?
What do you mean, like with the game changing? Are you just saying more of a pass heavy?
No, with the game changing as far as like players such as Deebo Samuel,
like hybrid type,
like the hybrid type, Cordell Patterson. Cordell Patterson's he's listed as a running back.
Samuel for the end of 2nd half of 2 years ago. Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill, like these hybrid players, right? And then even to kind of comment on your Cooper Kupp and the consistency of Cooper Kupp, like you see players like Cooper Kupp getting drafted now, and whether they they evolved to like such an elite player like Cooper Kupp was this season, but you have guys like Kadarius Toney last year out of Florida, Calvin Austin, from Memphis getting drafted this year. Like all these very, Isaiah. This is a Bills thing, just because I always gotta mention one Bills player every podcast. Isaiah Mckenzie evolved last year as kind of a nice consistent target, especially as the game's evolving, defenses are evolving. You're seeing a lot more cover 2. A lot of plays underneath now. And with PPRs, like I kind of feel like these hybrid players and these more consistent slot wide receivers, their value is definitely becoming more than, say, like a running back.
It's interesting. So to answer the question, I think that as much as all that information makes the wide receiver pool sound more valuable, to me it almost makes the drafting a early running back more important, because with there being that much talent and consistency coming in at the wide receiver position, you're having the exact same, if not in recent history, less talent coming into the running back position. You got Jonathan Taylor, who's been a stud, but Najee Harris got a ton of targets last year, but he didn't do much with them. If it wasn't for the amount of work he got, he wouldn't have been that great. There's just such a few number of worthwhile running backs to pick up, and on top of that, more teams are going to a committee running back by committee system. So if you can't get one of those guys that's the the consistent number 1, or at least just like a heavy dominant workload running back, you're going to have a pretty sufficient deficiency at that position. I just think there's so much wealth in the wide receiver pool, and I think every year you get a few of those guys that kind of pop up, that maybe you can snag off the waivers, that you can almost service that position a little later in the draft and have more luck doing so than if you try to take a flyer pick on a running back. because there's just a lot less certainty there, or maybe even more certainty. There's certainty that there's only so many good running backs in that
Yeah.
position.
No, great
So,
point, man. Great. Thank you for answering that. That was a. I was not.
yeah.
I have not been looking at it that way. So you just totally. I want to do a redraft now.
So talking about redrafts, this is off topic, but whenever we did the draft for the league, I was so thrown off by Josh Allen being the first pick because I had no idea that that was a super flex when I started drafting. So I drafted Austin Eckler, and then Evan was like, "Man, I love this guy, and he's Justin Herbert." I was like, "Number 5?" And then I texted Evan. I was like, "Is this a super flex?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I probably would have taken Herbert instead of Austin Eckler there."
I mean, it would. I'm looking at your. Hold on, let me pull it up because I want to.
And also, this is embarrassing because I don't know how I didn't know that that was happening. I still think it was a decent value, but I had no idea Alvin Kamara was supposed to be suspended for 6. I thought it was like a couple weeks. And then after that, y'all started talking about 6 weeks, and I was like, did not follow up on that info. That was a shocker to me.
No, it'll still be, I mean, a massive gain, especially in a best ball league too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
there's taking those guys a little earlier that do have those suspensions. If they're proven like, hey, you know what they're going to have whenever they come back. It sucks, but you know you're going to be having them later in that season.
Yeah, and if
Barring
you're
anything
still in
weird.
contention at that point, then you got a good value. So
Yeah,
but
you got like
I
a
just thought that
secret
was
weapon.
funny. I was going into that draft a little blind, boys.
Yeah, you got Trey Lance and Kirk Cousins. Those are your quarterbacks.
Wait, no, that's the wrong guy.
Are you not Matt? No, you're not. You're how do I win? You're how do I win?
How do I win.com? I changed that whenever I was 0-7 in our dynasty league last
Okay.
year.
All right, Prescott, Tua, dude. I don't want to sit here and praise Tua, but
right. It's just with Hill on the and I love Waddle. Personally, I love Waddle. I think he's
mean, I like Chase Edmonds going there. I mean, Evan called that like back in February, right? Or it was like the first week of March. It was like the week before free agency opened. He was like, I think Chase Edmonds is going to go to Miami. So,
talking to the GMs of the football teams again, Evan. Using your sources.
I go into a trance. I don't even remember saying half these things. Braylon Edwards to Atlanta. Oh.
But the yards after catch, I think, with is going to help Tua so much in this league. Like I think you're going to be sitting pretty there, honestly.
Hope so. MVS, I'm hoping as well. That was a bit of a fun pick, but I think Mahomes, and they've been talking highly of him in camp so far.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I went and picked up MVS right after we had our draft in our dynasty league, CJ.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, I went.
Well, fortunately, I had already had him sitting on my bench for a couple of years, so he's just been marinating for a little while.
Man, all right.
And
So
I'll put out a
go ahead.
A bold take real quick. I know I'm flowing in here a little bit delayed, but I know we were talking about Hurts and we just briefly talked about Tua. I don't know if this is bold, but I think it's going to be fun to see when both of them finish in the top 8 as quarterbacks this year in the fantasy points. So,
and this just in, we have a new opening in the Nothing But the Game podcast. Man, if you'd like I'm just
send my application in. Just give me the PO box.
No,
we'll just go ahead and bookmark that one.
Could happen. I mean, shoot, with Tyreek Hill, like,
let's pin it.
You got yourself a weapon there. You never know.
So, like, I don't think we kind of talked about this with what's happening in Detroit, but I don't think anybody's really talking about what can happen in Miami with Mike Gesicki and having these guys on the outside. I think Mike Gesicki skyrockets into a number 1 tight end position this year.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't really thought about that personally, but
I like
you
I mean, Gesicki. He is one of the best tight ends out there. I love him.
is
And
no, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I've
But yeah,
burned
it'll
myself.
be
I
interesting
love
opening
his
up the middle
talent.
for him.
Yeah, they will. No, they'll absolutely will. I remember I wrote last season going into week 1 and week 2. You're doing a buy sell article for a website, and I put Gesicki as buys on the first two weeks because I love his talent, what he has going on there, and he just laid. I'm pretty sure he laid goose eggs on both weeks, so I no longer write articles for that company. But but however, he's outstanding. He's great. He's just we'll see how it pans out. Tight end's always super weird with that too.
Yeah.
The talent could be there. It's just how's it utilized?
yeah. I mean, well, you got to think of, the system that Mike McDaniel's coming from and what George Kittle was over in San Francisco. You got to kind of wonder that, Gesicki's role is probably going to increase even more than what it was. The guys on the outside, Chase Edmonds, they have so much speed. And it's almost going to be. It's gonna be like tunnel vision, right? You're gonna force tunnel vision on these defenders that watch the fast guy, and then there's the mediocre dude sitting in the middle, wide open, underneath the coverage. Man, I see it
running the Jason Witten routes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I feel like it's really just gonna be a big psychological warfare.
Maybe Travis Kelce was the secret, or maybe Tyreek Hill was the secret to Travis Kelce's success. And now Mike Gesicki is going to be the dominant number one.
I made an ugly when you were talking about tight ends in the second round. I made an ugly face because I'm with I think Kelce's value goes way down. So I'm not way down.
So you think that it goes down. So you don't think that he's going to benefit off of the lack of targets. You think he's going to hurt because the focus is going to be more on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. Fun part about preseason, we don't know until we see it. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it depends on MVS. If MVS can really garner a lot of attention, and Juju for that matter, I always forget that he was traded there.
Yeah,
but if they can both garner some more attention, then maybe he'll be same old Travis Kelce. But yeah, they definitely don't have the same weapon as Tyreek Hill, so very well could take a hit. And Mike Gesicki's number one overall. You heard it here first. Fitz said it.
Oh man, well, we only got a few minutes left in the show here, so I want to jump over to my favorite segment. Where is Evan?
Yes, thank you. Yes, sightseeing across the country. I am currently, and if you live in this area or know this area, please comment, hit us up or something, because my wife and I drove into Florence, Oregon. We're over on the coastal side of Oregon, and this is one of the first towns. We've hit a couple, but it's not as prominent as you'd think. But we're like, so what are the home values here? What's the market like? What about settling down? It is outstanding. It's gorgeous. Just right behind me, maybe half a mile, you got the ocean and 40 miles of sand dunes. So you can go ATV snowboarding style on sand dunes. And then you've also got 5 minutes down the road, 4 or 5 harbor, clam chowder, fresh seafood places, and then go 30 minutes away, you've got the mountains. So I know it sounds a lot like kind of Cali, but it's more low-key Cali style. Yeah,
sounds a little more like bragging to me, but that's...
I'm only here for 2 weeks, so I'm going to brag while I can. I wasn't bragging a whole lot when I was in the Death Valley desert area. That is... Hey, you get to see some of the worst and best parts of this country. It's all beautiful, I mean.
If you make it over towards Astoria, can you get can you post a hey you guys on the Twitter page, please?
It's not a bad idea. I'll hit up my wife, the planner and navigator, see where we are, because I think we're just going up the coast for the next 2 months up Oregon.
I
And
would
then-
love a Goonies.
And then,
A
hey,
Goonies
you
pic-
guys! And my kids saw that for the first time. I think I showed it to them about 2-3 weeks ago, and yeah, they're kind of addicted now.
My wife, she's only a few years younger than I have, and she hasn't seen that movie. And every time she
Really?
says that, I just kind of, I get, like, okay, like,
You give the side eye.
yeah, that's like one of my all time. That's a classic, dude. That's like
But
one of
now after so long y'all being together, now it almost falls on your shoulders to blame because you haven't shown that to her.
oh, dude,
Point. Shame on you.
she wouldn't watch it.
Oh no!
No, she wouldn't. I can't even get her to watch anything that's not like slightly unreal. Like, like I try to get her to watch the show Supernatural, and like Supernatural is kind of real and kind of not, and she's like, no, there's ghosts now. She's like, that's fake. It doesn't. I was like, okay, all right. So let's just take out this entire section of Netflix then, right? Like that leaves us with documentaries and CSI, right? Like
I guess that's better than
Sounds
like
like she's missing out on Stranger Things then, and that's a real shame because
oh, listen, I am up to speed on everything Supernatural or anything and everything fantasy. I am up to speed.
like that.
So
your one-stop shop for fantasy talk, TV, and sports,
And fantasy just in the world, just like fantasy.
and the sexiest man in
Okay.
fantasy on with us right now. So, bam, see, well-rounded.
yeah. Well, that's pretty much that's gonna do it for today. Matt, thank you so much for joining us, man, and we'll be more than happy to have you on again. This was a really good show.
talk.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. It was my pleasure. As long as, like I tell Evan, I am a plumber by trade and a fantasy football podcaster by, hobby. I
Okay,
guess.
okay.
But
You're almost like
as long
Batman.
as
Okay.
yeah, as long as my hours accommodate and we set it up via schedule, I'm down to hop back on whenever, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Evan, you want to close this out, dude?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks, Matthew, for joining us in here, and everybody who is listening. Give us a gander on the old YouTubes and check us out on Twitter at NBTG_podcast. Give us a like, see what we got putting out there as things start ramping up. I know we mentioned Devi League we got going on. We have a massive undertaking that Fitz is trying to do with a 32 team best ball. We'll put back out there, but we got a lot of stuff we want to put out, and definitely as we do our campaign on our suicide awareness, definitely just check that out. Even if you just have questions and want to look at see what it's all about, just you can hit us up on Twitter, comment on us on YouTube. We appreciate the engagement and love to hear from you guys. And that is it. Thank you for listening.
See ya.
Oh, do we not do the
Are we
outro
doing
music?
closeout music? Dude,
I thought we were already dismounted.
dude, oh no, we're still live, dude. This is great. All right. All right.